The cult is currently inside Club Risk. However, we're going to move our camera, so to speak, outside of Club Risk. A wanderer of sorts has just recently entered into Philadelphia from the west, having just crossed I wouldn't necessarily call it the majestic Delaware River, but the river known as Delaware. Having crossed the river from what would essentially have been New Jersey. The first thing that takes your attention are the gigantic searchlights being shined directly into the air. It seems as a very extravagant display, given the very nature of the world. Quite unnecessary, matter of fact.
Given present circumstances, that seems a bit excessive.
However, certain twists of fate have pulled you to this location. As you eventually get a little bit closer, essentially across the South Christopher Columbus Boulevard, you can finally start to make out this club. At least that's what it looks like it used to be. Now it looks to be some sort of relatively heavily guarded facility. And the two individuals are currently ushering in a group that also, at the same time, another group is exiting. So there's a group coming in and a group going out. The group going in seems to be much worse for the wear. Even from this distance, you can see most of them are walking with some sort of limp. You can even see the telltale signs of blood being dripped from their bodies as they make their way in. The group on its way out is exceedingly heavily armed. If you want to roll me a perception check here.
Absolutely. I still have one good eye. That would be Wit's Composure. Which is quite good at that roll. Yep. That is 4 successes. Not bad.
So, since you have 2 in firearms, you know at least a little bit about weaponry. Most of these are high caliber rifles, 50 cal, a couple of shotguns, indescript, at least at this distance. One of the larger gentlemen is currently carrying a minigun.
God. What in all the non-hells is that?
As the one group exits.
Have I seen anything like this on the road so far? Are people just casually carrying around heavy weaponry on the ground there these days?
Not normally. Of course, most people you've encountered have some sort of weaponry, whether it be a machete or a 9mm, but this amount of weaponry is excessive.
Bow on my back? That seems... yeah. What the hell kind of prey are you hunting with that? What kind of people are you hunting with that? That thing's gonna rip through a truck. I think this seems to be the place for something important. Do I see does anything look particularly, besides this club, are there any good, some omens around, some like good things, like a big sign with an arrow saying like, this way towards your future or something, or 9 more miles until you reach a poetically named town or something.
Not necessarily anything like that. You are versed in dealing with the fates. However, there is a twist of fate here. But it's not necessarily fate in of itself. It's hard to describe, but the best way you could describe it is it's almost a coalescence of life itself pooling in that club.
Interesting.
It's hard to make out as life is not really something in your preview, though, so outside of that, you're not able to get much.
Yes. Well, I think that's a good place to start. So I think Sage is gonna start heading down heading down towards this place. Is there a river along the way? I imagine if she's walked all this way from the next state over, she might go and stop by like a stream or something and like wash her feet with ashes in the creek.
As stated, you had just crossed the Delaware in the west, so as you had crossed over from the west into the east side of the city. So
Yeah.
definitely there's water to be used.
Yeah. Goes and pours the little canteen over, because you want to walk with good fortune beneath you. And yeah, with a little contemplative chewing on a long scuffed up pipe that she got from some thrift store many states back. She heads on down towards the Club Risk.
With that, we are going to return to the cult inside of the club. The exiting group is quickly replaced by another group hobbling in. The person in charge of this group just starts screaming, "I need medical attention now." And a few of the eyes in this place shift over to Marshall, who begrudgingly is kind of shuffled away from everybody as he's taken to the makeshift medical rooms that used to be the VIP lounges. Any attempt to stop them or anything is met with briskness and almost open hostility. So you are effectively cut off from Marshall.
Seems to be a rather unending slew of medical emergencies.
Would seem that way. I'm not worried about him, no. They're not going to hurt their assets.
Well, judging from the butchery that was going on before, I think it's more than likely, yes.
Well, they're not going to hurt their important assets.
Which
As in
makes me...
Marshall, they're not going to mess with Marshall.
Absolutely, makes me wonder what kind of future we're looking at.
We are not quite as important as a full-fledged doctor, are we? He did call us his assistants enough to get us in, but...
Absolutely, I think can't help but feeling we're somewhat on borrowed time.
Well, then, let's get moving. We have some activities to commence. After all, everyone's on borrowed time here.
Absolutely. shall we? And I'll indicate towards the door.
This is commotion enough, good enough time to slip out.
It's not really necessarily even needing to slip out. You have been given essentially free reign of the place, allowed to come and go as seen fit. The doorman allows you out and allows you passage through that area.
Before we go, as we're going past the doorman, I'll stop and say, one of your cohorts inside gave us a little objective plan that I think we're looking at actioning. Taking on a family outside the city within the city that you believe to have medical supplies. However, we're unarmed. Any chance of getting hands on something with a bit of stopping power?
He pauses for a moment. He reaches behind himself and he produces just a standard 9mm and hands it off. That's what I can give you. Now, that family. Father's a crack shot. However, there's other issues with that family. Every time we've ran into him, one of our boys has come back with a brain hemorrhage. I don't know how it happens, but it happens.
Thank you for the advice and the warning, and I will look. I'm guessing that Edmond, you're probably the most familiar with firearms.
I've handled a service pistol multiple times.
I used to spend one morning a week at a rifle club. I think the two aren't even comparable, and I will hand over the 9mm.
I will take the 9mm. I don't have a holster, so I guess I'm just going to awkwardly put it in a pocket.
There's always the top of your pants, so to speak.
Yeah, we're going gangster style here.
Pray the safety is on.
I should check that first. Because all my lethal probably hasn't healed yet, so...
Not all of it, no. Maybe a couple of points. As you make your way out, the day is still relatively young. We're probably pushing 3 p.m. now. With that, as you guys step outside, I would like a perception check from all of you.
Sure.
And I would also take a perception check from Sage at this point as well.
Oh wait, why am I on my... That's not my real sheet. Doesn't matter, I haven't changed it yet.
See nothing.
What your age has kind of gotten the best of you here.
Distracted by shiny things that he's never seen before.
Sage, you notice the group that now exits this place. They are significantly different from both of the groups the one that came in and the one that left. The biggest difference that you noticed is both of the groups before looked like they had probably spent no less than $1,000 on each item of clothing. The individuals that come out now are much more modest in their dress. One has the telltale signs of being a professor, tweed being the main textile here.
Bloodstained tweed.
Bloodstained tweed. Another one looks almost like a World War I pilot with goggles.
When was I wearing that? Second.
We discussed this, that you had pulled down your goggles while you were flying the plane.
Well, yeah, those are included in the plane. Whatever.
Not in the Boeing, no.
Boeing? Oh, yeah, alright. Oh, God, he looks even
Okay.
stupider then. He's wearing, like, aviator goggles and just a collared shirt.
Oh, well, yeah, the fur lines.
Yeah. I'm imagining like bright green, like a Halloween costume of an airport pilot. I know that's not what it is, but you know, we should need like a construction worker, and
I need to
you know,
Google.
we got the cowboy.
And then the other one seems to be a man, roughly in his at least early to mid 80s.
Hmm.
As the group looks around, how exactly do they see Sage?
As in like a description.
Yes.
Yeah. So Sage looks. They're not of a particularly imposing build. They don't have. They aren't particularly sturdy looking or big or beautiful. What they do look is ragged. Their whole sort of being looks as if it's been tossed and turned by the wind and possibly by a hurricane or two along there. Every piece of clothing has been stained by dirt or mud or possibly blood and a bit of mustard. Their whole skin seems to be kind of a sort of dried, cracked, leathery texture. Nice hardened, boiled leather sort of consistency. And their hair is turned up ragged and matted with sweat and dirt. Their shoes are proper worn through. And across their back, you see a large backpack with a hunting bow slung in one area there, a little straw hat dangled, tied around one section, a pistol on their hip, and most strikingly, beneath a pair of sunglasses, you can see what appears to be quite a sizable burn scar, which runs across the right side of their face and turns into where it meets the hairline, has rendered the hair thin and pale in a long streak kind of running along part of their head. In short, they look fucked, really fucked by the world. And there's a strange sense of dizziness there, like you just inhaled a real big cloud of cigar smoke. And it's like you get that little bit of ooh. And they look at you appraisingly. They seem to be a woman, but with everything about their depiction, they are relatively androgynous in appearance and presentation. They chew on a long smoking pipe and stare at you.
Given the current walking paths, it would be inevitable if Sage had stopped to gaze upon you that you guys would cross paths. Obviously, this is not one of the members of the family that you saw earlier. However, it is also somebody that does not look the part of anybody inside Club Risk, which makes them an unknown. However, unknowns in this day and age can be useful.
They look you up and down, and kind of seeing. I'm guessing that some member of the cult is also staring back. If they do, they kind of stare back, sort of waiting, playing chicken a little bit with who's going to step up and man up enough to, talk.
That would not be Awat. Awat is oblivious to this situation at this time.
He's trying to get his phone to work.
Told you should have
Seth is-
charged that before we left, but it's
Seth is probably going to be make eye contact and do that very awkward kind of look away and anything else. And Edmond, I believe we have a new arrival. I don't quite like the look of the bow or the gun.
oh, come on, everyone has a gun these days. Fourth party is nothing to be afraid of. Fourth, I
We've done
suppose.
quite all right so far. We've done quite all right so far without one.
Well, you almost died because you... Never mind.
I have tricks up my sleeve for that, but yes, anyway.
No matter, it's an unknown allegiance, and if we are going to be operating here, it's probably best we determine allegiances. Don't want
Absolutely.
to accidentally say anything that might end up getting revealed back to the club here.
Absolutely, it's to this stranger. Can we help you?
Well, I'll be. Can you help me? That's the question I was going to ask you. Can you?
I don't.
Afraid I have no cans of beans on me at the moment, so standard trading probably not in the option.
I'm not looking for trading. I'm looking for people of great importance. Do you fancy yourselves important people?
Perhaps the enablers of greatness. At least that's the plan.
At this point, Awad, obviously, you're not oblivious to the conversation that's going on.
Yeah, he'll perk up at important people. Excuse me? I'm high priest of such and such cult. Which we don't actually have a name for. Scorpion cult.
How many years have you been here? Like, you probably shouldn't just give away your allegiances immediately. I understand the world's dying, but stealth is a thing still. You got under his skin. Continue.
Were the days when everybody knew us.
Yeah.
Fortunately, those days are forgotten for the time being, and hopefully, all being well and good, we can see them again, but until that time, maybe keep things on the quiet from now on. Well, I'm back to the stranger. Apparently no more secrets here.
Oh, trust me. This is not a time for secrets, I don't think. The world's ending, and I think that's a big enough secret to it's worth talking about. Now, cult, I hear. Cult of what exactly?
Cult is a strong word.
Well, you did
like I
already let this bird out of the cage.
I am on a research study with these individuals, you see.
Absolutely. I like to think of myself as a devoted scholar of ancient orders, rather than a cloak and dagger sect of questionable integrity.
That's fair. Researchers of what that is.
Well, that all
chews on her pipe and leans a bit uncomfortably close in.
Should
smells
probably
strongly.
keep a few feet in between, you know.
yeah, we're
The
heading.
world is
heading. To be honest, I am going to do a voluntary roll here.
Oh no.
Seth and his
Hell yeah.
not being
Love it.
able to hold his composure.
No, it's
He's the shy guy.
no, it's the this is the It's the field of expertise. You are at least spared the 45-minute version.
Luckily for you, I have the syllabus for all of my classes on me right now.
Yeah,
TLDR.
Would you like to read my dissertation?
I think it would make fantastic kindling.
Well, it's. I mean, our journey begins several thousand years ago, to be honest, and I'll spare you with the details for the time being. But it's the. How much are you familiar with Remic culture, predating most of what is thought to be ancient history, Assyria, Babylon, and so on and so forth?
I don't know much of that.
Understandably, it's a rather a specialist subject. However, that's where our beliefs and practices and ultimately objectives stem from.
Relics, the things imbued with some supernatural potence.
You have some familiarity.
Oh, I'm something of a researcher myself.
Third scholar, to keep the old man honest.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have a degree? This is important.
I have a degree of perception. I have a degree of
I think our friend means some kind of formal education, a doctorate, a master's, a bachelor of.
Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. I don't really remember these days.
Yeah.
You'll have to forgive me for that. I think I had a bachelor back in someplace, but I think he caught the plague and passed on himself.
Cryptic. So you're telling me you don't have a degree? Excellent. Okay,
Plague as
I
in
can work with.
plague as in bubonic plague.
Waves her hands in the air at just sort of gesturing at the world.
I do want to pose a question. Are you guys just standing there talking, or are you guys moving while talking?
Moving
Okay.
at this point.
Okay.
Yeah. It is funny imagining just right in front of the bouncer, just, just making...
What do you know about ancient cultures long extinct from the face of this world?
I've had that happen, so I have to ask.
Yeah. Moving along.
I mean, we've been talking for some time now, I believe. Potentially formal introductions are in order. My name is Dr. Seth Kressler.
Seth Kressler.
Kressler. Please call me Seth. A doctorate is more or less.
Kressler. Got it.
Well, my doctorate is in ancient history. I think we do have a physician amongst us, but he's currently been called away by our hosts within the club risk.
There's people in there that are, they got some interesting things going on?
Absolute scum, a lot of them. Don't worry.
Insanity, I believe, is the lunatics running the asylum.
Hell on earth.
Evil folks.
But they have something we need, so we're cooperating.
What kind of hell is this we're talking about?
Like that only humanity can make for itself. Hell is other people, I believe, as the old idiom goes. Well, these are the other people that I believe that refers to.
Yes. Well, you can call me Fire Sage. And just as a sage, I may be here to drive the evil out of this place. So, let me know, and perhaps I can help you with burning that out of there.
Well, burning it would defeat the purpose of obtaining what we're seeking to find in there.
And what is it you're seeking to find?
I don't know. We haven't seen it yet. We've only felt it. Well, we haven't felt it.
I feel it in there.
Gentleman, elder, leader has felt it.
It has the life force we need to complete our plans to, well, start fixing the world, basically. I am Awat Grach, by the way. I am what Seth here likes to study.
One of the progenitors of through various divination rites and various means. And I suppose anything is suspending belief might be necessary, depending on your experience of the world. But Awat was one of the few that has returned from a bygone era.
Bygone era. So you're a bit of a living relic.
So I've been told. That's more the most apt description I've heard in recent times, to be honest.
Interesting. And you found something of magical potence in there.
It's in there somewhere. I have a certain attunement to these types of things. And what we have currently is not enough for what we need to make happen. So we're looking for more.
Okay. Well, it seems like an interesting place, and the chances that I would cross paths with you curious folks with such a curious purpose seem highly unlikely, so I have to suppose that this is a intersection of fate. So, I will be traveling with you folks henceforth.
If you believe in fate, that is.
Oh, I do. I do.
I've learned not to question such things as of late, so whereas the academic mind of yesteryear might have been a little more cynical,
Yeah.
stranger things have indeed happened.
Your traveling companion's talking about magic. Like it's a sure thing. I think the time for being skeptical about fate and destiny has passed if we're turning to
Absolutely.
magic to solve the world.
I absolutely agree. Like I say, the man who would have been skeptical is long dead.
Also, Seth,
Yes.
at this point, I need you to take a single point of aggravated damage.
Oh.
Sniper!
What?
Oh.
As the pain erupts through your body, your phone, you can feel it vibrate in your pocket.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. That's yeah, I'm gonna collapse. Hand onto his knees, doubled over. Fumble for the phone. What'd she say?
All that's on the phone is one video message of the academic journal that was taken. And very quickly, a knife appears on the same film. And at first, the blade is just brushed against the cover of the book. But quickly, the tip of the knife is turned down, and slowly the knife pushes into the book.
Seth, my boy, I thought Dr. Brown sewed that gunshot wound up a little better. You're not telling me it's still hurting.
Something else. And just spit out a load of blood.
You didn't accept any of that white powder you found in that building, did you? You don't know what that was laced with.
I assure you. And I'm going to very, very unsteadily get back up onto my feet.
And quickly, another message pops up on the phone. Waiting for an update.
I'm going to respond with looking for a second, but I can't deliver if I'm dead.
Can I do something with this? While these, can I see there's messages coming in?
You can definitely see that Seth is intently looking at his phone, but probably wouldn't be able to read the messages. But you can...
Could I use receiver to go and look in and see? Yeah, since it seems that you got a message that caused you a gunshot wound, effectively, I want to take a look at this message.
Okay, what exactly is the rule for receiver?
It is seeing intangible things like data moving through the air.
Okay, go ahead and give me that roll. It's your willpower, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yes, it is my willpower pool, and I'm gonna use it as an instant action. So that's my my one reach there. So I'll just roll resolve composure since that's easier. That is willpower. 2 successes.
You're able to see the data as it comes through. The text message, obviously you're not necessarily seeing anything before, but you do see what was recent enough. You see the the update message, and you also see the video.
Oof. Someone's roughing up that book, huh?
So,
Is there anything weird about it, you know? Is there you know, arcane glyphs in amongst the data or something, or incantations, things of that sort that would evoke that would cause such a reaction?
Nothing. I'm being very careful with my words here. Nothing supernal. However, it does seem like there's an amount of what you would maybe know as fallen magic.
Interesting. Fallen magic. That would be magic of the material sort of world. I think it's receiver is the name of the thing. Yeah. So the stuff that's disconnected from this, from the more pristine stuff. Would that be I'm not entirely familiar with all the terminology. Would fallen be you know, like any type of magical stuff that isn't mage magic?
Essentially, yeah. It is magic, but it's not supernal in its very nature.
Interesting. Very interesting. Okay. Yes, these are definitely the people I need to be following here, for good or ill. If they're working, have enemies who have magic of some sort. Yeah. Sage is just tapping.
Now, with that, since that was actually spoken aloud, referencing the book, Awat, I do believe you are quite aware of, with your previous discussion with Seth, you know that he has a certain connection with a certain book. That was brought up, was it not? When you guys went to the university?
Yeah.
So go ahead and roll me a intelligence plus occult.
Occult. 2 successes.
You're essentially, I'm gonna say here, you're able to put 2 and 2 together, linking this new mysterious injury with the book he had mentioned earlier how he has somehow tied his life to that object.
Hmm. I'll. Is he still like on the ground, or is he stood up yet?
Stood up. What is there nearby to lean on?
Unfortunately, right now, as you're kind of heading down the, it would be South Swanson Street. If you're on the left or right, you would probably be getting close to maybe the Boston Market. So a very cheap American restaurant.
If there's are there buildings in the area, because it's likely probably like a I don't know unused business or whatever. Just head against the window because it's slightly cooler. It's just
It would
yeah, and he's very pale.
Yeah, that would probably be the closest building, or just a nondescript building on the other side of the street.
Yeah.
So then Awat would approach and kind of under his breath talk to Seth.
Are you actually attempting to hide this?
Yeah.
Okay, so I go ahead and give me a... I would say actually this isn't going to be dexterity. That doesn't make a lot of sense. Wits plus stealth here.
Yeah, that's fine. Wits, stealth.
And if anybody wants to attempt to listen in, realistically, go ahead and give me the perception roll, but I'm pretty sure you're...
I also forgot the...
Hey, Seth!
Seth! I have a trained observer, so that...
Hey, are you dying over there?
His whispering is kind of ragged.
He's got to do it loudly, go for his old ears, yeah.
All right. So Sage and Edmond are going to hear every word of this.
That's fine. So I want to put his hand on Seth's shoulder. Seth, did you lose your book?
It was not lost. Taken.
By who?
Seems that, well, let's just say for the relic, there's some sacrifices needed to be made.
Well, I assure you we will do all that we can to get your book back.
Well, if the young professor has recovered enough to walk, we have tasks to complete here. And we should get to move on.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Let's get those feet moving.
So,
Sage goes and offers you her canteen off her hip for a bit of water.
Oh, thank you.
Don't mind the taste.
Don't worry. I'll take a long draft. Well, not too long a draft. I don't want to seem. And then just sort of very, very carefully can take a little bit out and get into a cup of my hand and just kind of splashes it on his face. Thank you. I'll be all right in time.
Hope so. That looked nasty.
So,
yeah.
Your path leads down further south until you hit FDR Park again. It takes a little bit of walking to get there. That was the last location that you remember this family being at. They were fishing in some of the small lakes in the area. They don't seem to be located there at this time, but there are a couple of other locations. You can somewhat make out some sort of grocery market closer to one of the the larger of the two lakes in the area. It is theoretically possible that they might be hiding out in such a place. Not entirely sure, though.
Alright. Well, have y'all shared, as we move along, have you shared the bit of information of what you're doing, like who you're looking for, or what I should be on the lookout for?
I imagine we would maybe give a quick rundown that we're
looking for a family who is armed and probably not welcoming visitors. Yeah, and we're trying to get some medical supplies from them, or arrange some kind of deal.
Alright.
Oh.
And they're known to frequent a couple of places?
Well, we've only seen them once when we first arrived.
Yeah, we only just recently landed in the city.
Landed.
We landed a lot.
Oh.
You
Can you,
can't. You are in no position to criticize my landing.
All I will say is I dread the return trip.
Rest assured, I feel like we should get a change of scenery and perhaps take a different bird this time. Not that there's anything wrong with the previous one, of course. It landed perfectly. But
Roll me. Okay, I'm sorry. If you're really gonna try to pass that off, I need a manipulation subterfuge. If you're really trying to pass that off.
all right, 30 dice. Here we go.
Ha!
Unless
Okay.
somebody wants to oppose it, everybody just believes.
Wait, I'll oppose. What is
You
it?
get any penalties for not knowing how planes work?
That's
I think that at this stage, with everything going on in her kind of life, I think Fire Sage does believe that you had a good landing, but I think is a little bit convinced that you rode a bird, an actual bird. That's pretty impressive. So, yeah, she has some respect for Howard now, for being able to ride birds.
Yeah, I don't know what to roll, so I'll just say, yeah. We'll assume that's how it should be good.
Well, it would be wits plus subterfuge.
Okay.
Or wits plus empathy, one of the two.
Subterfuge is the better roll.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
Aha, 3 successes. I recall when we left, we were on wheels, and then when we landed, there were no wheels.
Well, that's you don't need those are the takeoff gear. Often confused for.
Need I remind you that we do have a return flight ahead of us?
Yeah, exactly. That's why we need another plane. This is standard maintenance procedure to swap out the takeoff gears every time.
Swap out the plane every time you make a flight. Yes, I'm sure that's
No,
what.
no. We just don't have the team to swap out the wheels. You know, we
Or the landing gear.
usually.
Or the undercarriage.
Those aren't landing gear. That's a myth.
As you guys have this argument, it isn't too long into this conversation that you begin to hear very loud. Well, for some of you, it just sounds like explosions. For Edmond there, he can distinguish somewhat, and Sage would also be able to distinguish the sounds a bit. It is certainly gunfire and something that definitely sounds very similar to a Gatling minigun going off.
That must be the fellas I saw earlier. Wonder if they found whatever big crater they're hunting.
If you believe them, they were hunting a werewolf.
Hunting a werewolf? I haven't met a werewolf yet. Well, I'm gonna head
Judging
out
by
that
the
way.
amount of firepower they were taking, I don't think any of us want to.
I mean, it'd be an exciting opportunity. Can you say that any of you have met a werewolf before?
I've met stranger things besides werewolves. Most of them I called colleagues at one point.
Actually, this is a good moment here to take a moment. I didn't necessarily go too much into this. However, it is definitely Sage, your arcana are fate.
Forces and time.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You do notice a spark within Edmond. It's not necessarily something you recognize, but it definitely has tinges of fate.
Okay.
Okay. The best way to describe it is it is not fire in of itself, it is a fuel for a type of fire.
Oh yes, I think I can recognize something of that sort. That, yes. Interesting. That is very interesting. I'm gonna file that away in the old big, bag of, junk that is my memory these days.
What would a Sadiq look like?
Yeah.
Sadiq would have definitely some time. You would see time being exceedingly elongated. However, similarly to the experience that you had with the club, there's also something that looks to be tied to life. Somewhat the same thing with Seth, but not nearly as distinguishable with Seth. Looks like time has been elongated for him, but he hasn't seen any of it, while Awat has seen a lot of it.
Interesting. Very interesting. Very, very interesting.
But this conversation about our ride home
Yeah.
can wait until we're done here. I suppose
Gunfire.
we should continue onwards.
Well, onwards where? We're here where we last saw them.
Well, we know where they call home as well.
Do we?
The
Oh, that's
guy
right. Yeah,
who
that
gave
guy.
us the address. Yes.
It would be a fairly blunt and direct method.
I don't think we want to go in. Perhaps make our presence known so they're not caught off guard.
Yeah.
Like we heard, there was mention of brain hemorrhages and not even retaliatory. Any attempt to engage with them was met with gunfire. So,
We should be careful there.
Absolutely.
Whereabouts is his house?
The house that was given is essentially in South Philadelphia East, a bit east of the FDR Park.
I'll point out the lake as well and said this is where we first saw them fishing, I believe.
I see. And you need these medical supplies for medical purposes, or you just want the morphine, or you want to barter for something bigger?
Well, the medical supplies are needed by our acquaintances at the at Club Risk. We had a few ideas of what we could do with it, but of course, well, you had the good fortune not to see inside. I don't think it was really medical treatment that they were doing in there until our friend arrived. It was more something from the Dark Ages.
Should we be assisting people then?
Oh, we are absolutely not
No.
assisting them.
No, our idea is if we can get anything from them, maybe negotiating with the good people here, who seem to just be doing what they can to survive, we have the opportunity of potentially poisoning the well, I believe is the expression.
Interesting. All right.
They seem to get through medical supplies at an alarming rate, to say the very least.
It's at this point that another explosion is heard as heavier ordnance seems to go off. This one is not gunfire of any sort. You guys are aware of the bazooka that was also brought in this situation. You can definitely tell that was an explosive.
Does that sound any closer than the last one?
No, all the gunfire seems to be staying relatively in place.
Okay. Does it sound like it's like right, the block over, or is it like, the sort of distant?
Give me wits plus firearms.
All right. I don't think I benefit from trained observer on this, right?
No.
All right. 3 successes. Jesus.
Nice.
All
Good
right.
dice today.
It is some distance to the south. You would assume that probably... Unfortunately, your knowledge of the city is a little... leaves a little bit to be desired. But it definitely does seem to be a decent distance away. It's loud enough and close enough to be heard, but you're not going to get hit by a stray bullet anytime soon.
Ain't we heading south and east, though?
No, the house that they have given you and the direction Seth pointed would be more northeast-east.
Ah, northeast. All right. I think we'll have to put off seeing a werewolf for now. Let's get moving to this house. We can maybe set up a little sign. Say, friendly, looking to buy medical supplies.
You have just finished listening to this week's episode of Mummy the Curse 2nd Edition Final Hours, part of the Domain Gaming's Contagion Anthology, written and told by Wyverian. A special thanks to you, the listener. And if you wish to continue supporting us, subscribe, like, and share. As always, comments are welcome. Until the next chapter, don't stop asking yourself, in the fading memories of this dying world, can we discover a way to survive?